give a huge round of applause for all our panel members.
Very good afternoon to the August gathering here and to my fellow colleagues on the dais. I think the most difficult phase is always the afternoon phase, and it's a graveyard shift for all of us. And starting off with the discussion which we are about to embark on, basically about collaboration. This is harmony in supply chain, right? So we are talking about harmony in supply chain. What we are talking about is how do you unlock potential of supply chains through collaboration. So we have a very distinguished panel here in this. I think I have a lot of respect for Sanjeev sir, who has just finished off his session here. He has set the benchmark very high with the Shairi. We cannot start with one. So I would probably state something from my life experience, which is a very famous quoted saying, which says, I tried to change my wife for 15 years, right? I could not. I thought for 15 minutes and changed myself. And that's how I still live my life, right? So that's how things have to change around us also, right? We have to unlock the potential through moving beyond transactional boundaries when it comes to supply chain. I come from Swiggy. It's a new age company. Most of you would know it's one of those homegrown, homebred organizations of India. So there is a lot of thought unlocking which happens in our organization. We have panelists here who are from organizations of repute and also of lots of experience, which we would probably be thrashing out here in this forum. I would first take the opportunity of introducing the panel to you. I have on my right Manish ji. Manish Upadhyay ji is a senior vice president with H&R Johnson, and he also comes with a huge experience behind him. We also have Sita here. Sita Parashuram leads the logistics planning for ExxonMobil. We have Sandip Satpathy ji, and he is the head of supply chain management of Tata Steel, right? And Santosh Pandey ji, he is the head of planning and distribution for Gulf Oil. So we have representation from almost every spectrum of the industry, and we would check into their brains a little bit to understand that now how do they think about this unlocking of this potential, which is there through human collaboration. I think the word and the usage has become much more prominent with Trump coming into power. I think this has been trashed upon from morning to evening of what Trump has brought about, not only in change in, I think, the industry approach to problems, but the resilience which we foresee in the future. So in this context, what does the collaboration aspect hold good for? What will it unlock for a supply chain universe for all of us sitting here, right? From my perspective, I definitely feel it will reduce your costs if the collaboration is internal as well as external. When I say internal, there are aspects of your fellow functions. External, you're talking about the retailers, the distributors. So a very, very sharp, finely cut collaboration does help us in improving costs, right? There will be improved efficiency as a result of improved cost. There will be improved resilience when something like COVID hits, something like the Suez Canal hits, something like Trump hits. We always will be resilient to the systems, right? That is something which will come about with this, right? This is exactly what we look at. Providing solutions with forums like this is how do we discuss and bring in more collaboration in with from internal and external sources. And what are the tools we use? Everyone spoke about it. I think we have covered from morning till now, we have covered it in almost every parlance possible about using blockchain, about using control towers, using AI, using ML, you name them. You have got everything around you. It's not the data that is deficient. It is the usage of data which is deficient for us, right? How do we use it for the purpose of making business much more efficient, resilient, and more sharper in this new age, and especially supply chain. So in this context, I would like to probably take this opportunity to have a chat with Manish ji on this, asking him about what is that basically that is changing in the world, right? there was a transactional relationship always. We always were transactional with our suppliers, retailers, so on and so forth. But things have moved beyond transactions. You have gone much beyond that. And how do you see it in the parlance of the new age with all the geographical challenges around you, Manishi?
Thank you so much, I think, for nice introduction. And see, business is like a relay race. And if you train your legs and not the handover, you lose. So collaboration or this partnership is like handover. And as you rightly said, it is both internal as well as external. And you mentioned about COVID, so I'll just touch upon a very internal example, which was in my organization, that we have our tile business, we have a bathware business. Both the sales teams are separate, but during COVID time, both the businesses collaborated. And the outlets and the channel partners were also actually struggling, because they actually, not only from business, but serving the customer. That under one roof, if the customer has come for a particular thing, he is able to be served with other products of the brand. So collaboration, both internal, external, is equally important. From internal perspective, it is within the organization, within all the functions, like sales, supply chain, manufacturing. I mean, like I mentioned in my previous address, that as a methodology, our organization, we use TOC. So we have deployed a tool. It's an AI tool, which is connected to our plant, to our raw material vendors, to our dealers, even the front end. So based on the consumption, the plant also get the signal, and then accordingly the raw material vendor also. So there is a seamless flow of information. So it's not only information, but like Sanjeev mentioned, that decision based on those information is very important. So, and as you mentioned about cost, so if you have a vendor, if he's ending up with higher inventory, he's of course going to load it on your cost only. If you are going to get it for say X rupee, if his inventory holding is for X number of days, he's going to load that cost on you. So if you are giving this sort of technological information or based on which he's able to act, his inventory holding comes down, and he also benefits because his capital turnover is higher, and you also benefit in terms of lower cost, as you mentioned. So, I mean, we believe in TOC methodology, and we have benefited. So in all the forums, and I am the TOC champion for my organization. So internally, I promote this, and externally also, I promote this. So this is what I have to say, that deploying right tool and then making use of those information to make right decisions. That adds value to the entire organization and your entire value chain. Yeah.
Thanks, Manishi. I would love to ask you this question. I think Sanjeev sir also had touched upon it. Do you get your projections right?
No, not exactly. And if Sanjeev, if you remember, when I had asked for the live poll, the biggest challenge was forecasting. So this is something which my Suresh Ruta, he's the demand planning head. So I think this is a key challenge. But to a large extent, see, if you have these type of tools, at least I would say 65% of my this thing is well taken care of. Only for 35% you have to put your brain. If you don't have a tool, and if you don't have the ecosystem which is able to use that tool, your entire 100% is on manual thing. So at least all these tools helps you minimize the manual intervention to a great extent, at least the top SKUs. There should not be any issue in replenishment. Na? It's only in case of certain, and in projects, you get time. Only in retail you have something, the tolerance time of customer has, reduced a bit. So, but in case of projects, so we have project customers, we have retail customers. So project, we go for a MTO, made to order. So the same tool has this thing. One is made to order and one is for retail. So for the top selling, which we call the head SKUs, I'm sure you all would be knowing the head, belly, tail. So at least the head SKUs are available across all depots, all plants, so that whatever there should not be any black and reds of those, right? We have benefited with this, and Suresh, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you are at 96%, right? So 96% availability. So, Suresh, if you could stand, I think. So Suresh heads our demand planning, and so 96% is what? But before TOC, we were in a very bad shape. It was very, I mean, I can't even say about that number, but it was very bad. But consistently, we have been, at above 90, 95, 96%.
Oh, fantastic. I think Sita would love to add to this in terms of your experience in understanding that relationships go beyond transactions, right? Before you take this up, I actually had enough and more anecdotes and examples from my own experience. Reason being, I have moved from new age organizations. I have moved into when the industry was booming. Sanjeev sir spoke about it. I was one of the early starters in retail, the brick and mortar retail. When I talk about when the Dunlop team came and started the Spencers and the food worlds of the world, I've seen how difficult it is to project and forecast when you have an entire change in habits of consumerism. You are not really in a position where you understand that how would they order. Now in e-commerce, we face the same problem. Quick commerce, we face the same problem. Right from crackers to shirts to t-shirts, everything people are ordering online. The brick and mortar has actually gone through that cycle. Now it's e-commerce, quick commerce. So I think the challenge mostly lies with how the consumerism is also evolving over a period of time. And that is to be factored in, which, as you rightly said, there's a man behind the machine, right? And the man has to take that decisions. Sita, over to you.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. So we were talking about internal collaboration as well. So in ExxonMobil, the supply chain spans across multiple countries. And that's where we decided that in order to have greater collaboration between the businesses and with supply chain as a function, we actually need to start branding ourselves, even within the company. So we have our own brand identity, and then we also have our own mission, which says one ExxonMobil supply chain. So that, but at the end of the day, we actually want to collaborate with business so that we deliver these business results. That's where collaboration becomes important even internally, and that's what I wanted to highlight.
Very valid, Sita. I'll jump over to Sandip ji. Sandip Satpathy ji is my namesake, but then I have a very relevant question for you. Maybe you would answer it better. Long-term trust-based relationships, right? It's easier said than done. It also is trial and error for a long time, right? So how do you see you can overcome these challenges, right? The challenges which are posed by building a relationship up more than transactions. And how do you do it at, I would not state in your organizations because you quote unquote, I don't want to do that for the organization, but with your experience, right? How do you build this over a period of time?
Yeah, thanks. See, it's always that key because I have spent whole of my life in Tata's. So as you know, they are good old companies. But I would say it's mutual because there are few people must be knowing on the little older age, they may be knowing. There are some steel crisis has happened once, the pricing crisis has happened in 2007, 2008. At that time, Mr. Tata, who is no more there, Mr. Ratan Tata, at that time he has announced that there is a 2,000 rupees for the consumers, for the auto consumers, etc. That there is an immediate slash in the prices, etc. So I'm only saying it's mutual. Once if you have given some benefits to someone, the people will remember. It's the same for whether it is customers, whether it is vendors, whether it is partners, everyone like that only. So before coming to this dash, we are just discussing that at least in my career, I have not seen almost, I heard from my seniors also, that almost more than 30 years, Tata Steel has hardly acquired any distributors. All of them are, most of them, 95% of them are working with us with third generations. At least I have seen. my young days, when I joined company, I dealt with the father and son, and now the grandson has come, father has almost retired or just saying, I'm all promoter based, the distributors, those who are having, let's say, 50, 60 crores, 80 crores business. So what I'm just trying to say that this is the mutual trust between the manufacturer, the distributors, and the retailers. And the distributors are also the same. They say that our channel is such that the distributor has to again distribute to the retailers. And there is almost a one-to-one kind of mapping for the Tata Steels. We track each and every sales we do to the distributors, that everybody track in their systems. And also we track how much they are selling to our retailers. And these retailers, I think in thousands of numbers in entire country, are all extended family to Tata Steel. And it's not on the pen and paper, the management jargon nowadays in all the books you read or the theory you read. It is truly, we do a lot of regional family get-togethers. Family means business family get-togethers. There we see their retailers also, second, third generations, they are coming and applauding the people. So it's over the year you build this trust. And how this trust happens, let's start with the business perspective. First of all the 12 months, your demand is always not as good as the people can, the distributors can lift the material. But since we are all the steel companies, those are continuous process. They can't stop the processes. If they stop process, then it will take a lot of time to start, because you know this iron ore melting, etc. These are all continuous processes, steel making processes. I'm talking about primary steel making. So you have to load your capacity fully for the month, whether there is a demand or not. Because you have to all procure a raw material 2 months, 3 months ahead, and the entire, if you stop the plant, any heavy manufacturing plants, then the entire, it also has a huge cost once you start and stop. So by hook and crook, you have to load the plant. And if you load the plant, where these finished goods will go? People has to take it. So you have a channel. So that channel, how long it can absorb that channel, the stocks they can absorb if it is not further going down. So that is why this mutual trust has been built up, that every distributors, every retailers have 15-20% cushion. And if you exceed that, then only you have to stop that plant. But by that time, again your market revives. And all these service they give you, it's not free of cost. There is a cost attached to it. Because there is an inventory cost. There is a finance cost. Ultimately, it's a working capital for everyone. So at the same time, you should have a bigger heart to see that if I can manage something to some extent, if they are parking the stocks for some time. These are very tactical issues. I'm not saying these are, it's not across the table discussed and being sorted out. But there is a legacy to it, and there is a way to handle it. So that's where the trust being built up. Yeah.
Thank you, Sandip ji. I will just move over to you, Santosh, on the part of technology, right? We have spoken a lot about technology, but in your perspective, if you have to hold 2 or 3 forms of technology and advancements which will take this universe ahead in the next 3 to 5 years, right? In your mind, in your understanding, what would be those?
Thank you. Happy to be part of this panel. See, I have been part of many panels, but as a topic, collaboration is never discussed. I think the most important skill set, if you required in a supply chain and you want to be successful, I think the collaboration, the skills to collaborate with your internal as well as external stakeholders, I think it is most important. Before coming to the technology part, let me set the context coming from the operation strategy. So organization do 2 kind of intervention to achieve core competence. One is your structural, another is your infrastructural. So if I talk about structural, these are all your fancy tools, greenfield plant, capacities, all this goes into your structural intervention. Infrastructural interventions are the skill set of people, the training, the way they coordinate, they collaborate. These are the infrastructural skill set. The collaboration comes into your infrastructure intervention. For my understanding, I follow ABCD of supply chain. See, in a supply chain, what we do, we try to make availability. Availability is possible if your supply chain systems, the stakeholders are adaptive as well as they can adjust to the requirement, right? For that, you require collaboration, which is for me supply chain C. And if I talk about the technological tool, for collaboration, we require coordinations and communication happening faster between all the stakeholders, be my internal stakeholder or external stakeholder. So coming to that, if I talk about the one technology which is going to play role in the coming 3 to 5 years future is the AI agent, use of AI agent. So somebody was talking about, say, supply chain 4.0 talks about what? Interconnected, autonomous, intelligent system. Suppose I have shortage at one of my place. My AI agent should be able to find out where are my excesses, whether those excesses can be reallocated, whether those excesses somebody manual has to be done or your AI algorithm can plan for it. Suppose excesses are not there. Can those requirements can be worked out for plant productions? Can those signal can be given to the plant team? I think that can be possible with AI agents. Can raw material requirement can be passed on to my raw material vendor? I think that also can be possible through AI agent. So AI agents, I think, will increase the speed and the accuracy of collaboration among the entire stakeholder system or value chain system in the supply chain. Second is the digital twin. Is another thing I think right now it is not being used so much, but digital twin can be used between your, say, manufacturing team as well as your predictive maintenance team. How is my loading of my tools, or how is my loading of machines? Based on that, I can plan my predictive maintenance. These are the two technologies I think can play a very important role. Third is predictive analytics. I think big data analytics will play a major role. Big data analytics with all this computing power, I think will give predictive and prescriptive analytics. I think these are the 3-4 we can see in the future.
Thank you, Santosh. I think, yes, very much I agree with you saying that predictive analysis is one of those things which we have to use for betterment of our supply chain systems and networks. Along with AI agent, it seems to be a kind of a concoction for the best. I'll just pick up one question, which probably both of you can take, Sita and Sandip ji. This is basically about how do you see in the complexity that we are today. I think he has touched upon a vast portion of it, but the complexity of the supply chain world we have with all the tariff systems working, with all the COVID issues we had with transportation issues, your weather unpredictability and so on and so forth, right? So in this system, in this global scenario of unpredictability, how do you see technology kind of playing an important role, which I think we have touched upon that yes, it is going to play an important role, but how is it that it is relevant and how it is going to be impacting organizations? And when I say technology, it can be a very generic form of technology or it can be very specific like Santosh spoke about, right?
See, classic example, I always speak that a traditional company like us, we has never gone into all these automations, etc., but almost last 20 years, we have a huge, because we believe that if you want to manage scale, then automations, it's a generic word, automation is a mandate. It's not a luxury, it's essential. Otherwise you can't control. Like today, earlier we have one manufacturing unit at Jamshedpur. That's the start of the Tata Steels I'm talking about. Now we have multi-locationals and in multi-countries also. So today, unless you have a synergy in the entire supply chain, the values come from the supply chain only, because your spread, we call it in the marketing terms, because I spend a lot of time in sales also. And in our organizations, we move from vertical to vertical. So the entire game is on the spread, because whatever is the raw material cost and what is that price you are selling, if you are able to manage your supply chain cost, so that's actually the big thing. So unless until you have a synergy, because you have multi-locationals, you have to have a single procurement for all kind of stuff you require to produce the material, or to reach to your finished goods, you need the entire, whether it is transportations, whether it is packaging material, whether it any consumables, you need to have a synergy. Then only you will, like he has said, you have a access, if you have a, so you have to use those tools. So artificial intelligence is very loosely being used. So we said ki, in earlier used to say ki, एक alarm raise करेगा क्या system? That's we call it today. It's a AI agent kind of, but it's a better version. I'm not saying that's the earlier two programs are written and it used to give a alarm based on the algos you put. Today this it has gone many fold, and it's called say AI agent, which will actually be whether it is a manual interventions or it will give. So how we tackle the raw materials, our collieries and mines are let's say in a particular place, and all the manufacturing unit they have to feed through our railway rakes. So every day, like control tower, everybody has in their manufacturing units. So every day it is being monitored, and wherever there are excess, it is automatic diversions of the signals, it goes to the various fields. Because by that time you realize that it is required, it will be too late people to intervene. So I'm only trying to say that these automations or AI, in a, under quotes this AI, whatever form you have to use, it is a mandate, otherwise you can't scale and you can't excel also. Because today, by that time you react, something has gone. And I was talking about in my previous, let's say it's the manufacturing one, in the sales side also. Today, let's say constrained items, all your finished goods are not always available. So there are few stock keeping units which are in constraints, which every nook and corner of the country they want, but you produce less because of the whatsoever be the reason. So you have to be judiciously distribute these, because these are the basket products which if it is not there, then other products won't sell. So there these AI agents works, because they keep on constantly monitoring. If you have built your systems to the last leg, then it continuously monitors where these stocks are moving and how it can be redeployed so that you don't lose out on your sales. So these are the small things, looks like very simple, but it's really required to scale up your business and to excel.
Yeah, Sita, before you go to this, I think he also covered a lot deal on this, right? Obviously, yes, would love to hear your opinion about this. But also one anecdotal example also where your organization might have done something, you might have done something, which is in sync with what we are discussing in terms of harmony in supply chain, collaborating with various functions, right? If you could just pitch in with an anecdotal example, it would be really, good for this situation. Yeah.
I think Sandip ji is quite, I mean, in his team, it's quite good that, he has 3 generations of suppliers who he has built a lot of trust with. But ExxonMobil is intentionally looking for strategic alliances where we can co-develop and innovate together. So this is where we're looking out for partners where we can, innovate together, come up with joint solutions. So one of the examples is in terms of our advanced demand planning systems that we are building. And we're working with one of the leading market providers in this space. However, in terms of the energy market solutions, it doesn't suit the energy market solutions at this stage immediately. So that's where we are jointly working together, where ExxonMobil is defining what the needs are, what the value proposition should look like, and finally, what are those pilot cases or use cases. And we are essentially teaching them about the energy market. And then jointly together, we are coming up with these integrated supply and demand views, which are actually giving us faster insights, greater efficiencies, and now we have actually an industry benchmark in place. So that's the example that I would like to share.
Wonderful, wonderful. Really good to know that ExxonMobil is really setting the benchmark on this. I'll go to a very HR kind of a question now to Manishi. This is more of a psychological question. What cultural change do we need for this, right? We have spoken about doing something. The toughest part is always doing, right? We always need a cultural shift in organizations like Tata. I mean, the new age organizations behave in a very different way. So what is a cultural shift you will need to say, bhai, this is your supplier, but this is also a brother to me, right? At the end of it, I have to build a bridge here. So that cultural change, how do you see that coming within the organization and also outside the organization? Yeah.
See, like I mentioned, that it actually comes from the top down. If the leadership feels that whether we want to create a ownership-driven culture or a stewardship-driven organization, so actually it drives down from the leadership. And in our organization, we are fortunate to have our managing director, Mr. Vijay Agarwal, who spotted TOC as because see, we are a traditional organization. And any technical intervention, like Sanjeev also mentioned, that if you have introduced something and your team is not prepared, then the entire thing goes haywire. So it was a proven, TOC is a proven methodology, and at the shop floor, we are basically a manufacturing organization, but we do source and outsource products. So as a first is to answer your question is the cultural that comes from the top. And what happens that otherwise the organization works in silos. And with methodology like TOC, getting introduced, your silos become symphonies for the organization. And it really unleashes value the way we are experiencing in our organization. So net, it is from the top leadership and how he develops his second line to carry forward the same thing. And as I mentioned about the collaboration, that how our vendors, they were also sort of onboarded that look this, because you cannot do it in a so connected world, you cannot do it only in your organization. You will have to connect your vendors, you will have to connect your channel, so that entire value chain gives the best of the value. And as you know, and nothing is, we have limited resources. So out of those limited resources, the tools like these helps you maximize your returns.
Yep. Thank you, Manishi, on this. I think we have more or less covered in terms of the approaches which supply chain and the function as well as the organization has to take in terms of collaborating more internally with the new age technologies, AI agents, blockchain, be it control towers. Also, we have seen some wonderful examples. We have heard some wonderful examples of TOC from Manish ji of what ExxonMobil is doing, from the culture at Tata, and how do you break a legacy of 3 decades to 4 decades of working in a certain way, and then making sure that you change, your wife doesn't, right? So that's how it happens at the end of it. So this is exactly, I think, what the forum wanted to bring here, and it's been a very, very enlightening experience here, sitting with you folks and hearing out what you do at your organization. I'm pretty sure for the August gathering too, it has been a learning experience. We together as a supply chain fraternity, we look forward to contributing in every way so that our systems work in the most well-oiled manner, making sure that we are the doyens and the flag bearers of supply chain. We, irrespective of our age, bring the changes which is needed to make sure we are the most resilient country in terms of supply chain, making sure our systems work the best way. No Trump can deter us from going the extent to which we want to go. And I'm pretty sure that we have the best of the brains at work here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, all of you, for having joined me in this conversation. Thank you so much to the August gathering for having heard us out. And thank you to UBS for setting this up. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Can we have a huge round of applause for them? With this, the floor is open. If there are any questions for panel speakers.
Good evening. Anyone of you can give the answer. My question is the security point of view. After this Israel-Palestine wars and that pager bursting issues, on the security front, what are you people have an opinion on doing to protect such kind of things will not going to happen further?
If I mean,
pager bursting happened, pager bursting at Israel.
Oh, okay.
And that has been happened through the supply chain.
You're talking
all
about
the-
physical security. Basically, you say that, no,
physical
how do people don't intrude into your systems and
how that
you know,
collaborations with the vendors, or what all you are going to take that on these particular subjects.
I mean, it's more about the vendor checks and methodologies.
The example which you have given, I think that is also an innovative supply chain, which thought about using pager as a bomb. It has passed through collaborative system of the supply chain and gone to the, I think, Syria.
So I think
So
the
it was
answer-
targeted. I think what we need to understand, see, this was targeted attack. Yeah, this was a targeted attack.
See, I probably from a very vendor onboarding to a vendor scrutinizing to a very check and balances methodologies, I think that's pertinent here, right? Every organization at its level of functioning has its own methodologies of screening and approving for vendors, for onboarding vendors. So at this juncture, I think there might be failures in terms of, that is exactly what peters out into what has happened with the Israel scenario. Or the best methodologies which at our level of business we make sure is that there are different checks and balances. We make sure that the screening happens at a certain stage. We make sure that the right vendors with the right legacy, with the right history of performances are onboarded. This makes sure, this kind of helps the supply chain being more robust. If you can add, I mean, this is my thought.
I think what he has given is a very good answer. But see, if you take that example, only on talking on this example, whatever quality specification of pager comes, nobody tests it for explosive. It's a QA spec sheet will not ask you to check whether it will blast or not blast through this.
I think
Yeah.
going forward they will, definitely, after this instance. I'm pretty sure. One of checklists which will be added to the checklist to be checked for. Yeah.
You should have a stringent quality checks, like although we are not from electronic and all those related trade, but like we do outsourcing, so we have our quality team which is stationed there, and there are strict checks done. So I think that has been compromised. See, you cannot blame the entire process. If few people have been sort of, I don't know, probably they would have been, something for those guys who were actually responsible, that probably would have compromised the entire thing, and it had done with a purpose. So the stakes were quite high. So I'm sure there would have been enough this thing, pumped in to get these things, managed well. So, but your question is very relevant, but I don't think it will have a very easy answer because it is.
Just adding on to that point, I think, see, moving from, this was a transactional thing where they have purchased certain amount of pages. So if you are having a strategic relationship with your vendors, I think then it may not happen. The screening of vendor, the onboarding of vendors, you are not following only the transactional part, but you are doing certain kind of partnership. I think that is the way forward that can make sure, again, screening is a check, but you cannot check 100%. That is also a reality. But again, the strategic partnership, I think that is the way to go, how you are onboarding your vendors. And since this is a cross-country kind of things, many countries have a restricted list of vendors. So certain vendors we do not do. So we onboard the vendors which are from our friendly country, or which are our strategic partners. So suppose today, India does not have a lot of investment from China. They screen every investment. Same thing goes for Pakistan also. So at a very high level, government has a plan, but again, I do not know anything can be guaranteed 100%. But yes, screening will play a part. It can weed out something. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with Santoshi. Having trusted partners is important. I would say, for example, we have shipping suppliers with whom, because of Red Sea impacts, we are actually having to go through the Cape of Good Hope. And despite the Red Sea impact going down, our trusted suppliers are telling us, let's continue to go through the Cape of Good Hope instead of, going through Red Sea, because that's more safe. I know it's going to cost us more, but this is where I think the cost versus safety comes into play.
Thank you. Any other question? No? Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Can we have a huge round of applause for entire panel?